Okay. Where do I do that?
I'll do it. I got it.
More about, well, give Shelley a chance because
Yeah.
Out.
Don't let Shelley do it. No.
I don't know where to do it.
I hadn't had a chance to do it, so everybody's coming in.
So we'll get to hear a
Just
voice.
come out and admitted that they have been using both the flu and pneumonia testing.
they're not coming in on mute. Some of them aren't, so you're gonna have to go back and mute everybody, and then unmute the people you want to unmute.
Okay.
All right.
Are people?
I am
really don't-
unmuting. There you go. I'm asking Sophia and
I'm
Vera to
unmuted.
unmute themselves, and I muted everybody else.
Okay.
All right, guys. So bear with us as anything.
Got it.
We're still
Yay.
getting used to this. So welcome to the audiobook narration panel. So let me get my notes up here for you. All right. So we have, of course, our lovely and talented Sofia Willingham here.
Hi.
Hi.
Up here. Sophia is best known to TAG fans as the voice of all of our favorite characters from the Atlantis Grail audiobooks, for which she's done an amazing job narrating and bringing these books to life.
Oh, yeah.
I love listening to her. You can hear her on multiple bestsellers, which she's narrated and produced. She's, besides being a popular audiobook narrator, she's also been heard as a voice actress. She's been a finalist for the Audio Publishers Annual Audio Awards and has narrated multiple bestsellers for an ever-increasing number of publishers in various genres and styles. And of course, we have our lovely author, Vera Nazarian. I think most of you guys know who she is. She's known for the Atlantis Grail, the Cobweb Bride, and many others. But since we're on a limited time and you guys have already been in a panel earlier and met her, I'm not going to read all of her, wonderful attributes. So, but you guys can go to the website and see the full bios of everybody. So let me just take a moment to welcome both of you ladies. Glad to have you with us.
Thank you. And great to have all of you here. And Sophia, oh my goodness.
No, this is so exciting.
right.
I'm just I feel so welcome. So thank you so much.
Oh, really, really happy to have you here. So, all right. Shelley, do you have your questions up in front of you or you want me to start?
Well, I'd like to start.
Go for it.
I'd like to start with Sophia, kick it off with Sophia since, she's the person we know the least about. And so Sophia, we'd like to know a little bit more about your background and what was the road you took to becoming an audiobook narrator?
It was a very unorthodox way I got into this because I was in college in the University of Texas at Austin, and I was a senior, and I was a major in Latin American studies, so language studies and culture studies. I had some background in acting with theater and like minor little things, but I wasn't really involved in any kind of performance. I loved it. My grandmother was a cinemaphile and we watched old movies together, but I wasn't really comfortable performing myself. But I met somebody my senior year at college. I met a guy and he was in town shooting a film. And I didn't have plans after graduation. So he said, if we want to continue dating and getting to know each other, why don't you move out to LA after you graduate? So with no real set plans, I wasn't quite sure where I wanted to take my degree. I decided to move out to LA and give it a shot. And about half a year living out there, I worked at cafes and restaurants, and I was going to, acting classes just to try it out, doing some background acting. A friend of his knew that a producer at Random House Audio was looking to cast a narrator for a protagonist in a series that had just moved from Texas to Los Angeles, who had graduated from the University of Texas at Austin, was 23, 24, about my age, and so many things about her background that I discovered in reading the story that I really resonated with. And so I reached out to the producer and introduced myself and said, with absolutely no experience, being completely upfront with that, I don't know what I'm doing. She sent me the manuscript to audition from, and I asked her, well, where do I audition? Should I come in there? I don't have a mic or anything, And so she said, no, just use your iPhone voice memos on your iPhone app. and record the audition there. So I used a light Texas accent for the protagonist, and I ended up getting it. And it was just one of those weird things where everything kind of came into alignment. Yeah, so that was with Random House Audio, and I did a number of projects with them. That was the gift that kept on giving, because they were like book after book after book for this one author and this series and novellas, and I had so much fun doing it. And then it turned into more opportunities. So yeah, that's the random wild ride it took me to get here.
Very cool.
That's fantastic.
So now, obviously, that was not a typical audition, just recording on your phone, I'm assuming.
No.
So what is a typical audition process for an audiobook like for you?
Yes. So because I've worked and I've developed relationships with these producers, and I don't audition so much anymore. What I have on file for them is a demo, a voice demo of different things, young adult, different genres, different voices I can do. And they send that out to the author for approval. Once they see something come across their desk they think I might be a good fit for, they reach out to me and say, would you like to go out for this? Which it's basically sending out my demo, my sample. So that's now where I'm at. But when you're just getting started, I would create the demo and do all of that and try to create a home studio for yourself. A really, really good resource I can give to you that goes more in depth is acx.com. It's a sub-company of Amazon, and it's a platform that connects rights holders, writers, indie publishers with narrators trying to find talent. So it's a really wonderful resource, and they go into a lot of depth about the technological aspects, the specs you need, the recording software you need, how to audition, and then auditioning by searching for titles you're interested in. Once you build a home studio, I really recommend going that route with the home studio, unless you're somewhere where you want to rent out or walk into some professional studio, which usually happens in cities like LA or New York. This way you can have control over, when you decide to audition and when you decide to record and all of that.
So it's like a home location, right?
Right, exactly.
So is that how you and Vera came together? That same kind of process where they took your demo video or your demo tape and sent it to Vera, or you
I assume so, unless Vera, you have another story.
Well, here's what happened, you guys. When I was offered the contract from Tantor Media, which is the publisher that is publishing the audiobooks, they gave me a choice of narrators. So I actually got to audition different demos from, Sofia was one of the, I believe I had 6. At least, I know there was at least 3, and they gave us, they gave us 2 batches. So, and I liked the way Sofia did hers. So I just said, okay, you're it. And then once I made the choice, Tantor, I guess what they do is they go directly to Sofia and they tell you that you were the one person selected. So thank goodness.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
I didn't know that side of it. I just know that they asked me if I'd like to do it. I had to read but 3 sentences of her synopsis to know, of course, duh, this is amazing. This whole story, I instantly knew it was going to be an adventure. And so I said yes. And then they came back to me a few days later, I guess, and said, you got it. And then that gets the ball rolling. I get the script from them, and we schedule when I'll record and when my recording deadline is, all of that.
That's awesome. Well, we do have a couple of people asking a couple of things in the chat here, talking about, one of them hasn't listened to the audiobooks, Lucy, and she's asking, do you do both male and female voices, which you do, which, leads into then, how is that for you? How do you get into that mindset of, okay, I'm doing a male voice now versus a female, and,
Yep.
How is that like?
Oh, it's the trickiest part of my job by far. I think that I was really lucky, as I said, I started out with no understanding of what this entailed myself. So I went in, and thank goodness, I think they took a chance on me at Random House, because they had a director working with me in those early books who helped guide me there. I would not have known, I would have felt ridiculous, you know, trying to be a man. And so you really learn how to bring out the essence, just a male energy without, yeah, I try to bring it down in register and be a little bit deeper with my tone, with my voice. But it's more the flavor, the essence of the person. You never want them to feel, my worst fear is that they'll feel cartoony and hokey and not like a fully formed individual. And so I really need to always hook into the story and into the dialogue to be able to get there. So,
Cool.
yeah.
Well, what's your favorite part of the audiobook process?
Oh man, so for me, it's because I'm a reader first. I love to read. It's been my #1 love all my life. So I love the reading process. Reading just because it is work. You know, performance is, I'm thinking about technique. I'm thinking about the vocalizations and the narration pacing. All of that is I have to be on, you know, all the time, and my whole body gets involved. And so it's tiring. And then there's editing out mistakes, which are inevitable. But so when I read, I prep the script before I even begin recording, and I just relax. I just let myself relax into the story, you know, let the characters and the imagery wash over me and get under my skin, and, you know, really feel it. Because for me, the performance comes from the emotion that I feel as I'm going along. I really sink in really deeply into that. And there's a number of techniques you can use to get there. But I had good teachers. And so when I'm present and emotional with it, the best comes out of that. So I just let myself go there with reading. And I just, especially with the Atlantis Grail series, it was awesome. I mean, I would have loved reading them just for entertainment purposes, not to do the work I ended up doing with them, because they were just so wonderful. So yeah, the reading process for sure.
And you do you really bring the emotion through. So now one of the questions from the audience that I just saw pass through was asking, Vera, did you work with Sofia on pronunciations?
Okay, I feel so bad for Sofia. She had a horrible job. All these strange words. Because, you know, seriously, I feel for you. I really do. And I think part of the problem is there's so many of them, and we don't get enough of the Tantor to you, to me kind of. So sometimes things get jumped, but she did an amazing job with what she could. She really did. Yeah. Because
it was tough, but it was good because you had those pronunciation guides on YouTube.
I tried. Yeah. And what happened was I made a couple of videos where basically all I do is just pronounce names and terms, and I forwarded those, and sometimes they're not even including everything that there's more in the book. There's so many words because it's a whole new language and so many names that not everything got included in the videos. But you know, with what you had, it was great. Thank you.
You know, there were moments where I can remember one in particular, Ostradaimon.
Yeah, I know. It's just, well, the thing is, you can't tell with that, because unfortunately, you know, unless we were in the same room just practicing, how do you know this? You know, you got to either get a video of me saying it, or because it's just so hard. So I thank you so much for
I did the best I could. And it's also, you know, your videos were so helpful for me, not just to because I need to feel collaborative, you know, to really get invested. So seeing you and hearing you discuss your world, your creation helped me so much, just lock into all of that. And then the pronunciations, you said something in one of the videos. You said, just remember, if you're ever in doubt, that these are rooted in ancient Earth language.
Right,
So,
exactly.
You know, you'll hear in Spanish the short vowels, o, e, I, o, you know, u.
Yep.
Hard consonants, rolling the R, and all of that.
Right.
So in moments of doubt, I would do my best to go back and check myself, but things got missed. But those helped so very much.
Thank you. That was exactly the point, because it's a language sort of based on ancient languages, and it's a mishmash of like whatever. But when in doubt, you go for like the Latin languages like Spanish and so on. So
yes. And then Nahuatl, because I'm Latin American Studies major, I loved, what was it, Jatetlan? One of the places.
Yep, you got it. Jatetlan. It's the ocean, and you know what? that came, the word itself, I believe jet was, it's an ancient Egyptian word which means darkness or so. So I mean, some of these names were really, they have been transmorgified, of course, by the time I use them. But a lot of these terms have roots of real meaningful terms. Like I think jet was like darkness or some kind of a, you know, so it is an ancient, it's an actual real Egyptian word.
I love that. Yeah, I loved it.
Have you had any funny experiences when you're working on an audiobook? Do you have any interesting stories that have happened?
I have general answer to this, and then a more kind of specific answer to this. So my sound booth is as soundproof as I can get it. I have acoustic padding and everything, you know, as much as soundproof as I can get it. But I sometimes will catch things outside my apartment, like a bad muffler blazing down MLK Junior Boulevard, sirens, you know, in the distance, the cat pawing or meowing, and sometimes, I mean, if it's a string of those, usually I let it pass, but sometimes I just lose my ever-loving mind. I just curse, I get mad, and there's no one I'm offending, and there's no audience, so I get to be mad and lose my mind. And at some points, it just comes out, and I'll forget to quit recording. You know, ideally, ideally I want to like remove the bad takes as I go, but sometimes I'm just like, let's get, you know, get rolling in the momentum again, and I resume recording, and then at the end of the day, then I'll go through and edit, and I'll hear myself, you know, it's going along so nicely and it's sounding so professional, and then it gets real like real fast. And it makes me chuckle. But then there are, specific to the Atlantis Grail, I just want to mention that of all the projects I've worked on, I have never laughed to where I have to stop and I'm bending over laughing, you know, crying, laughing. I don't know, I've had moments where I've had to stop because I'm crying in other projects, but not laughter, you know, and I also, like, that laughter that I got in 2 instances. For some reason, it's with pants each time, their pants story. And it's when Gwen is, she's trying to get really resourceful and inventive, you know? And I think it's something with the meal trays. It's in Win, and she decides to levitate her uniform. And gives herself a wedgie. And you know, I can just see her dangling from her own uniform, you know, in front of all these people. Oh my God, I couldn't get through that. I just couldn't stop laughing. And then the second pants story was when, in Win also, you know, I forget the name of the female contender in Win who.
Thalassa, I think, Thalassa was, yeah.
Irtio.
Okay.
Yeah, Irtio, Tamat Irtio or Thalassa.
Okay, that sounds right. And then she's reaching out for the Red Grail, and Gwen is gonna do everything she can to stop her, you know, whatever. So she grabs her pants and unwittingly brings her pants to her ankles.
Yes.
In front of
everybody.
Yeah. And I think it was because, you know, these were such high stakes moments and they were so high stress, and like the comic relief that Vera and the way she wrote it, I thought I was done laughing, and then I'd go back to the manuscript and read, and I just dissolve again.
Dear.
Something with me in pants. And there were other moments I chuckled and stuff, but
It wasn't
those got me.
One who died because didn't Gratu Deneb kill her. So it wasn't Thalassa. It was that other woman, and I can't remember her name. Started with a T, I think. Anyway.
Okay, but are we talking about the Grail? I'm trying to think, which moment was that?
This was in stage one, and Deneb Gratu had taken Gwen, so she was with their team.
Right.
We're surrounding this.
That's right. It wasn't Thalassa. Oh my God, are you right?
It was
Which one? I can't remember.
Yeah, she died.
Thank God.
She died not that long after this.
Yes. The other competitor who had the other, You know what? I forgot my own character's name right now. I'm literally blanking out.
I know, because she doesn't,
We're
she's
all
not
blanking
throughout.
out. Let's look it up.
Yeah. Can somebody look this up, please?
People are saying Sarpanit.
Question, guys.
Latau. There we go. Oh my God. Seriously. Sarpanit Latau. Yes.
Sarpanit.
Sarpanit
Yes.
Latau. That's
Yes.
it.
Thank goodness for our audience.
Yes. Well, just to interrupt here briefly, I have the, just to warn everybody, my memory is so bad. I have the memory of a fruit
I know
fly.
you
I
created
can't
them.
remember anything. My own characters, their names. You know.
You've written so many of them. I mean, it's
So many.
you can only hold so much in that head of yours.
I don't know if she held the 4 books in her head.
Oh, I can't. I just.
So Sophia, given that, I have a question for you. These were some of the longest books, I think, that especially for a series, and each one seemed to get longer. Let's just take Survive, the most recent book. It's a 40-hour audiobook. 40 hours.
I'm sorry.
That's right.
How long does it take you?
Don't be sorry. Don't be sorry at all. I loved every minute of it.
How long does it take you to record something that's 40 hours long in a finished version?
Yes, so that's you'd think, okay, that's 40 hours of finished running time. That's a work week, right? You can get it done in a week. No, it's because you have to remove the mistakes. So my job as the narrator is to deliver a faithful manuscript, just completely as is written. Remove any, because of course you're going to misread and mispronounce and need to try a voiceover again. And I want to erase those before I deliver them to Tantor for them to proofread. So they've got to, because of human error, and there's so many hours of this, and there are moments, things that I just miss, they have to then go through and listen to it in its entirety and catch anything I might have missed.
And then they introduce errors. We've had one little instance, I forget what it was, but they introduced an error. So they made.
I know, exactly. They created an error that wasn't one.
Yeah, cure all problems or.
Yes.
Yep. There's background noise, or there's just I have a couple of takes. Usually the editor removes the takes and stuff if I don't catch them. But what they want from me is a re-record sometimes, where I'll just have to go through and match as close as possible. And sometimes this is 3 weeks after I've turned the project in, where I have to kind of go back and re-record mispronounced words or just a misread. So I'll do that, and all of that, because I'm working throughout the day and I budget out my time, a certain number of chapters a day to meet this deadline. I also have to edit and factor in, I need to rest my vocal cords and, have refill my tea and get some lunch and pet the cat and take a second away from the screen. So it all amounts to a lot of, time that you wouldn't expect it would take, but it did take about 1.5 months, 2 months for me to do.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, maybe because you have the prep work in there, you have the actual recording, then you have editing out mistakes. So yeah, it adds up. It can take a while.
Amazing.
But I loved it. I did not resent you, Vera.
Thank you, because I feel so guilty.
No. I think because like everybody, was a much awaited for installment, and we were waiting for things that we're just sitting on our edges of our seat with. So I loved it, and it's kind of like, it's wonderful for me because I have assurance. I have this this amount of work. With that time, I would be trying to get other projects, but I had the assurance of having this 40-hour long. It's great. I bring it on, So
Good.
yeah.
Well, this next question, I saw a couple of people kind of mention it in chat, was as far as the process goes, it's like, are you reading the book straight through, or are you doing the voices in chunks and then putting it together?
Yeah. So I do read it like you do. I start to finish, because I think that with, I imagine just creating like dialogue separately or something. it would take away the flow. I think because for me, I need the narration, the narrative to tell me how this character is feeling. So I can prepare to slide into their voice. And without that momentum, I just don't think it would sound as natural and easy to follow. So I'd go all the way through and just stop and pick up where I left off that way.
That's great.
Yeah.
That makes good sense to me too, because the flow is how you get the natural, organic kind of emotional flow.
Exactly. And get into that emotional space. I need to vocalize these people.
Otherwise you wouldn't, start laughing over pants.
Exactly. Yeah. Which, yes.
Shelley, you got any?
Well, I was curious on whether or not, okay, here's my question. What is the best thing about doing this work for you, and what is the worst thing, or what is difficult about doing this work? Sure.
Yeah, I think that the best thing is really the story, and getting so emotionally invested into the story as I do. I like the performance part because it helps me express what I've been feeling, because I've gotten so attached, and Vera's done such a beautiful job with creating this. I feel like I've known these people and I can hear them, and I know how I want them to sound. So that when I eventually go to the mic, I just feel really comfortable letting that flow out of me, because she's made it so very easy. So I think the reading, and when everything's going well, you're feeling the synergy of how you think it should sound versus how you're actually sounding, but you're just in tune with it, in the flow with it. Feels wonderful.
Guys, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Shelley, can you continue? I apparently have an emergency at my house, so I'm gonna mute myself real quick and go see what's going on, and then I'll be back. So
No problem.
Shelley, please continue. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Heather. Okay, people, this is real life, so we'll just move on. So that sounds like a wonderful reason to love this work. What are some of the things that really get to you?
Okay, the editing out my mistakes, and stupid mistakes, and or when I'm really into it and my mouth isn't cooperating, or just errors, and the time it takes. It's kind of a drag, going through it all over again and removing my errors and having to be faced with how stupid they were. And
I
was hallucinating, so I'm back.
Oh good. Yeah, so kind of moving through those trickier moments that take more time. At the end of the day, I make errors, and I have to correct my errors, and I need to make sure that I send over a faithful manuscript to the producers, and then by a deadline. I would also say, I just want to say real quick, that Survive, my recording window began with the beginning of this pandemic. So there was a lot of stress, and it was really in the early stages. There was a lot of anxiety that I was feeling around it. Like, do I need to get toilet paper, Lysol? Should I stock up my freezer for like months just to, just have and eat out? There was a lot of fear, and who is this affecting most, and all of that. And I had trouble really letting that go when I was going in initially, unburdening myself from the issues of the world and the anxiety that was carrying over. When I find I'm emotionally constricted, my voice rises, and I feel really high and thin more than I do. And conversely, when I have sinus issues or something else going on, my voice will drop very lower. So I've got this high sensitivity to my voice that I have to watch out for. But I've learned some meditation techniques and breathing exercises that can keep me centered and keep me, ready to go back in and clear my mind, like let it all go, close the door, and and because Survive was so wonderful, it didn't take long for me to but in the beginning of every time going into the studio and having to kind of fight past some anxiety, I found my way there once I'd get going, and then the story really pulled me in, and it was fine. I had a great time.
I think we can all empathize with that amount of anxiety that probably most of us were going through at the same time. So we all understand that very well. But we didn't have to put our voices out there for everyone. So appreciate that you worked through that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I'd like to ask a follow-up then just about your voice. How do you take care of it? And you mentioned earlier about having to rest it. So how do you pace that?
So I learned from my early days at the studio with my director, Jill, my good friend Jill. She would say, you need to rest your voice every hour for at least 15 minutes. Just step away, let your vocal cords rest. I also learned things, you know, from my stepmom, who's a singer, and she gave me throat coat as a way to, it just kind of lubricates your vocal cords. And I found that to be really helpful as a tea. It's a tea. And it's herbal, and it just, somehow it just makes me feel less dried out, and it works really well for me. Some vocal exercises I found from this Swedish lady on YouTube, like ways, just kind of funny vocal, I'm sure for singing it works similarly, to warm up my voice when I'm getting started. So yeah, I've learned over the years.
One of the common questions I'm seeing scrolling through is asking how you keep the voices straight with so many characters across the book. So do you do you have like a little recorded bank where you listen to that character's voice if you haven't done them in a while so that you can get right back in?
Sometimes I'll go back to, I don't have it saved right at hand, but what I do before, when I prep my character building, is I'll go through and highlight where they first appear in the story. I'll highlight the characters, and then using a software called iAnnotate, I add the note about that person to remind me, you know, who they are. But by then, because I've really done the prep work, I feel pretty comfortable with who I've decided they should sound like, and their voice naturally comes through. But when you have people who are similar gender, similar age, background, all of that, that's very tricky, because that is, how do you make someone, you know, usually you have tools with gender or accent work. If they're the same, you know, what do you do? So like, for instance, with Bree,
Right.
and Gwen, they're from the same high school, from the same town, probably pretty similar backgrounds, but you know, Bree is like, she's world weary and jaded, you know, somehow, for how young she is. She has this like sarcastic, snarky, everything she says, you're not really sure how she feels, because it's all masked by sarcasm and humor. So she has more attitude, you know, you just bring that in her voice. Gwen is an open book. She's honest with her feelings. So that just comes through, I guess, naturally with the characters, knowing their personality. Like Zelio, you know, Zelio is he's got this kind of the swagger to him. He's more playful. You know, he's also very competent and an incredibly talented instructor and pilot. But Asen is, you know, got this quieter stoicism to him that's a little more serious, right?
Yep.
So there's a difference between them that you just kind of make the essence come through in their personality.
That's perfect. I love the way you describe that. Yeah.
Now, when you get an audiobook, or when you get a book, that you're going to narrate, do you read the book cover to cover before you start?
Yes.
So that way you get
my favorite part. I love that part. I just relax. He is an old soul. I see that comment, Asen. And in a way, Gwen is too. But yeah, back to I read the entire thing cover to cover, usually in a night or two. Well, not for Vera's, it's a little longer. It takes a few more days.
Yeah.
Just a couple.
Yeah, just a few more days. But I just let myself sink into that, and then her world and what she's created for us, this world building that's so impressive and well researched, and it's easy to get lost in. And that really helps me get ready for performance, because I've felt so locked into the story throughout reading it that I'm ready. I've heard them. I have such a sense of who these people are that I'm ready to record.
Do you do other voice work besides audiobooks?
I used to dabble. I dabbled. I tried like commercial, promotional type voiceover work. Didn't appeal. It just and it, not that it doesn't take talent, but it's, you know, you're a sales girl voice. You're upper and register and chirpy, and it felt a little not my speed. So then also there's voiceover for cartoons and things of that nature. I worked in my early years in LA. I worked for a company called SDI Media that specialized in dubbing American films for international distribution. So American films and cartoons that were dubbed in foreign languages where they would be distributed. So working there, my time working there, I would go to the window. There was a room outside of a studio where I'd listen in and look through, and I could see how much fun they were having creating these, you know, cartoon characters and things. And because I worked in the legal department, I worked with their contracts, and I could see how, I mean, they make bank, they make serious money, and have so much fun, short days, you know, not long-term commitments, and have the most fun. And I can see why many actors love it, love that kind of voiceover work. I just never, and I think maybe my voice just probably is better suited to telling stories and doing audiobooks, which I absolutely love. So
I'm so glad that you do.
yes.
And the
Me
fans
too.
are asking, if there's a
Hopefully.
chance you're going to narrate the next book, The Book of Everything.
Well, I would definitely be choosing, because what happens is Tantor is sort of the final, you know, they're the ones who have the say. But if they ask me, then we know who we're going to be selecting. Sophia.
Oh, but The Book of Everything isn't the next in line, is it?
Right. It's not.
Okay. Yeah. They'll probably want to go with someone else. It's a different timeline. Right? I mean, this isn't, because I do Gwen's POV. That's
right. That is, The Book of Everything is Gwen's POV, but
it's the next book.
Time. Right. So what happens is there is a prequel series. So you go back in time with a different set of characters. You know, you'll find out a little bit more in another panel. But when you go to the second to last book, when you go to I believe it's Ghost. So it's Eos, Dea, Nyctos, Ghost. And then the last book of the prequel is supposed to be Starlight, but you stop and you go to The Book of Everything in the future, and then you finish the series with Starlight. It's a time thing.
Okay.
So actually, it's a jump. Like you actually are going to be Gwen again in The Book of Everything, but in Starlight there's more. So yeah. So
okay, got it.
That's the one. That's with Gwen. For
but
sure.
it is The Book of Everything. I mean, she appears, but it's not in her POV, is it?
It is.
Oh, it is. Okay.
But it's some of it is not quite there. I'm still considering whether or not to do like a kind of a joint POV like with her, but it's mostly going to be another Gwen, because it's the 5th book of the tag, the original series. So yeah.
Okay.
It's Gwen.
I'll be waiting. Waiting here. Get it?
Now, here's just in general, do you have a favorite genre that you like to narrate and read, since you said you're a reader?
Yep. Well, you know, it used to be I really liked kind of exploring the darker side of human nature, and more of what we expect to find in our day-to-day real lives, you know. And lately, I mean, of course I grew up with loving fantasy and sci-fi and Harry Potter and other things of that nature, but lately I've returned back to that escapism, you know, being able to immerse myself in another world creatively, completely, is so where I'm at. And that can be fantasy, young adult, of a variety of genres, romance, as long as it's light fare. Not that there's not drama and complexity between the characters, but you know what I mean. You know, there's tones of books that are just heavy and just really a little too real for me right now. Like what's going on in the world.
The world's a little too real
Yeah.
for us right now.
I know.
Absolutely.
Well, we're getting close to the end. So if there's any last minute questions, let's see. We've got one where somebody's asking your favorite voice to do for tag. So which voice did you enjoy the most? And how fun was it to do Anu and the fish slapping scene?
Oh God, I love Anu. I love him so much. He's so inappropriate, and you know, because of his upbringing, we understand why. But he's so much fun. I love the fish slap. Yeah, the fish slapping. I love them all. I don't really know. I don't know. I love them all. I really can't pin one down that I love them.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I just can't right now. I'll have to think about that.
And is there a question that no one has asked you before that you've always wanted to answer?
I don't. Okay, that's tough. I don't know. I just on the spot can't think right now of something. I just, please ask me that. I can't think.
Let's see, and in the chat where we're being asked, do you ever listen to the audiobooks that you've recorded after you're done?
No.
Do you go? No.
I mean, just to get it out, to distribute. I mean, like all people, I think we all have difficulty accepting our own voices. For the longest time, I couldn't even record a voice, you know, hey, this is Sophie, please leave a message. I could not record that. I just refused. So I'd let the machine do it. And then finally I got okay with it and got okay with my voice. So no, I stay clear of, unless for, you know, to really be objective and put together a demo for my, I like to update my demo. And so I'll have to, right? And then also to send it out initially. Yeah.
Do you actually have to do a new demo periodically using update for like new projects?
Yeah, I like to just keep it up to date. And as I grow as a performer, I discover new things and I'd like to include and be sent out for, because I had to overcome a little bit of pigeonholing, right? Because I was, the bulk of my early work was set in the South, in Texas and in the surrounding states. And I've been told for so long, because my mother's from the East Coast, I don't have a Texas accent. If I do, it's very faint and people don't usually notice. But because I had been doing so much Southern work, I didn't get, people were hesitant to hire me for things where they wondered, can she do a neutral American accent through this entire thing? Or does she's from Texas, look at the body of her work being set in the South. So I had to build my demos very, very, well, because to break out of that mold. And also I had people take a chance on me, you know, and through ACX, I broke the mold that way a little bit by doing indie projects and having people who accepted my auditions and liked them. And then I could gain more, people took more chances. But that's how just people are. They think, oh, gosh, she's done all this Southern work and she's from Texas. I don't want that in my book, you know. So
forgetting that actors and actresses
had no problem with the tag.
Yeah, right.
You know, people tend to forget that, you know, when you're a voice actor, that you can do different accents.
Yeah, I know.
You know, that's kind of your thing.
Right.
Well, before we wrap up, Sophie, do you have any questions for Vera, or Vera, do you have any for Sophie?
I do have one big question, and that's, are you ready to do another recording?
Yes, please.
The book of
I'm ready.
everything.
I love them. I want them right now.
Well, yeah, it's gonna still be a few years, you know, there's a lot more to, you know, the prequel comes first, but the book of everything is definitely gonna be, like you said, Gwen, and maybe not as long as Survive.
You say that now.
It's okay.
But I would love to have you back on it. So.
I would love to do it. These are my favorite series, and I'm not just saying that.
Thank you.
I absolutely loved them. I mean, how could you not? You have everything you could want. So I'm delighted. I'm delighted to be here. Thank you for having me. And I hope to continue along the journey with you.
We're thrilled that we had you. And for everybody, when we do close out the room, then we'll be at 5 o'clock starting with the red qualifier round. And again, with the trivia, the qualifier round, that's just what we're calling them. You don't have to be red to play in the red. That, you know, everybody can come in and play. So definitely come and test out your trivia of the Atlantis Grill with us. So, and
So you're welcome to try it out yourself and see how much.
absolutely. So, but
You know,
Sophie,
I would lose. I would not know my own.
You would lose, Vera.
I would be like, did I write this or that? Oh no, let me look it up.
so everybody, thank you for joining us. And yes, Lori, I see in the chat. Yes, you can join. You can log into the trivia. Make sure you use your actual name, please, because otherwise, if you win, we won't know that it's you. So we need to know if you are a winner. So definitely use your name. Sophie, thank you so much for joining us. Vera, thank you.
Thank you so
And,
much. Thank
Have
you.
fun at the rest of the conference.
Absolutely, thank you. And you have a
Take
great
care.
weekend. And we will see you guys in the next panel room.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.